Hello, everybody. Welcome to our latest NCSA webinar. I'm Jill Escher. I am the president of NCSA, and I am happy to be your host this evening, wherever you are. I'm in California, and I'm here with our guest, Eileen Lamb. Hello, Eileen in Texas.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So happy to have you. I've known Eileen for a couple of years, and I think like thousands upon thousands of other people in our sphere, I'm a huge fan of Eileen's and her incredible, creativity, her ability to share her story on social media. And she juggles so much. A quick introduction to Eileen, who I think really needs no introduction. She is one of the better known autism moms out there. But Eileen is a blogger. She is a podcast host. I really love her podcast. She's an author. She's a photographer. She's a public speaker. She is the director of social media for Autism Speaks. And she's also the mother of 3, and you will hear about her children and her family in this discussion today. So this webinar is a little different. We tend to do these more kind of formal webinars that are a little more instructional in nature. This one's not. This one is much more parent to parent in orientation. I think maybe a little bit more relaxed and hopefully, a different tone, a different idea about approaching the difficult issues that we face in the severe autism world. So Eileen, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you. But before I do want to say this will be very interactive. Feel free to put your questions in Q&A. Feel free to say hi in chat. I'm not sure that I'll moderate the chat, but I'll definitely check out all the questions on the Q&A. We've scheduled this for about an hour, hour 15. If we have to stay a little bit longer, we can, because I know a lot of you look forward to speaking with Eileen. So thank you so much. Eileen, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. I had an introduction ready, but I think Jill did a pretty good job at introducing me. So I'm Eileen Lamb. Some of you might know me from my blog, The Autism Cafe. I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and I share the ups and downs of raising a child with profound autism while being on a spectrum myself. I was diagnosed when I was 25. I was born and raised in France, which is why you hear this beautiful accent. And I'm now in Texas, in Austin. So this is my family. Charlie with the white shirt is my son, who's 11 and has profound autism and a lot of challenging and dangerous behaviors, which is what we're going to get into in just a little bit. This is my other son, Jude, in the brown shirt here. He's 8 and he's also diagnosed with autism, but level 1. So much different struggles than Charlie. This is my husband, and this is my baby, Billy, who's doing really well and most likely not on the spectrum. Before we get into it, I feel like, they say a picture speaks 1,000 words, but a video speaks even more words. And I just wanted to show you a little glimpse into what our life with Charlie is like. It's 50 seconds, but I feel like it's very powerful, if it lets me share.
We're not getting the sound, but we can definitely see the visuals.
And that was it. Very, I guess you didn't need the sound, but a lot of messes, a lot of attention needed, and just a little glimpse into our life. So this is Charlie, who you just saw here. Like I said, he's 11 now, and he was diagnosed with autism when he was just 2 years old. Not even, he was 22 months old. and he was born with 3 thumbs, which, looking back was just the beginning of a lot of, oh, okay, this is different. This is not what I expected. Yeah, everything was honestly pretty typical with Charlie up until he was 18 months old. And when Charlie was 18 months old, we noticed so many things that made us think that maybe something was different. He had a big speech regression. Charlie used to say a few words, even in French, actually. I used to speak French to him, and he lost all of his words. There was no more saying merci, which means thank you in French. He just started like being in his own world, but in a way that, not just an independent child. He was really in his own world, to the point that we couldn't access him. He stopped making eye contact with us. All he wanted to do all day was to line toys up. That's all he wanted to do, his little Hot Wheel cars. And we just knew something was going on. He wouldn't answer to his names anymore. He had, violent tantrums and meltdowns and, terrible twos. We're about at that point, around 18 months, but it felt different. I was a part of some mom groups in Austin, but also online, and I could just see all of the other kids who were Charlie's age doing things that Charlie wasn't even close to doing. And I'm not just talking about words and speaking, but the behaviors of these children who were Charlie's age were just completely different. And at some point in that mom group I was a part of, we had a break thread inside his 2020 that might not have been a good idea, but the idea was that every Sunday, all the moms would share something new that their children, babies, were doing. It was a group of moms with babies born in the spring of 2013, just like Charlie. So it was a very good comparison, because all the babies were born about the same time, give or take a few months. And even the youngest baby started doing things that Charlie wasn't doing. And one day I started a post in that Facebook group, and I was like, guys, I feel like I don't have anything to contribute to that brag thread. And a mom answered to me. She had a son with autism, and she told me to take the MChat. If you're not familiar, it's 20 questions. Autism Speaks actually has the online version. You can take it online, type in MChat, 20 questions that will ask some questions about your child developments, like, does your child point to a plane in the sky to show it to you? Very basic, but like Charlie wasn't doing any of these things. Actually, he scored 18 out of 20, and any score above 3 is a red flag for autism. I think one of the only things he could do was like, does your child walk, or something like that. So that got the ball rolling for us. We contacted early childhood intervention, and they offered like speech therapy, occupational therapy, parent training. It was like 5 to 6 hours a week total. And within a couple months, I want to say, it was clear that ECI, early childhood intervention, wasn't going to be enough. And the word autism kept coming back. And like I said, Charlie was around 18 months. And they told us to go get Charlie evaluated for autism. Long story short, we did. And he was diagnosed with level 3 autism at 22 months old. And the behaviors over the years just got worse and worse. And I wanted to share this, but you're not going to be able to hear the sound. So it's not going to be as powerful. So I'll just go to the next slide. over the last few years, Charlie started struggling with pica. And if you're not familiar with pica, it's compulsive urge to put non-edible items in his mouth. Not only that, but to actually eat them and swallow them. And what we've discovered is that there is no safe item in our house. Sponge in the sink, no, you can't do that. He's gonna chew it and eat it. A screw that is a little loose on a piece of furniture, he's gonna swallow it. And he did, and it was removed from his colon through colonoscopy last September or October, so not so long ago. Basically, any item around our house became a pica item. At the worst of it, Charlie was swallowing non-edible item at a rate of 1 minute and every 1 minute 30 seconds, every 90 seconds, he was swallowing something that was, or at least trying to, so we would be able to stop it, swallow something that's not edible. And he was in ABA full-time, 40 hours a week at the time, and they had never seen such a severe case of pica. No one knew what to do. I mean, nothing was safe, even with, 2 people with him in a room at all times. He was still able to like sneak in things to eat that you wouldn't even think of. So they had to start carrying a big, think about like a big blanket everywhere they went to cover the floor to make sure that Charlie wouldn't be able to pick up like little things off the floor, so they had a clean blanket to cover the floor. Charlie would wear a face mask to give us more time to react, because it's one more step if he has to pull back his mask to put an item in his mouth. So we had to take like very extreme measures to keep him safe, which leads me to the need for 24/7 supervision. And when I say that, it's not just an expression. I really mean he needs 24/7 supervision. During the worst of his pica, I stripped his room of everything other than his bed, pillows, blankets, obviously, because he started eating all of his toys. And once that was done, Charlie started eating the walls, the paint of the walls, his pillows, and then his clothes. Like he would wake up in the morning with like big holes off of like his knees on his clothes, because that was the easiest thing. He could just chew the clothes off his knees. And that is just like heartbreaking, because we felt like we had absolutely no solution, and that it was just a matter of time before Charlie would, swallow some things, and it was too late. Like we got lucky with the screw that it didn't injure him. A few times he's swallowed coins, which he threw up right away, little toys. And I feel like, we got really lucky. And I feel like unless you're in a situation, you don't understand the anxiety of it and how intense it is. You'd think, well, just watch him well and he's not gonna do it, but it's really not that simple, because it takes like a second, and it doesn't just happen at home. Like I said, it happened in ABA therapy too, when he had even more supervision, because often he was 2-on-1. And actually, as a result of the pica and other challenging behaviors that became life-threatening, Charlie was approved for 2-on-1 in ABA, which is very, very difficult to get if you're familiar with that field. It was the first time for his therapy center that they ever got insurance to approve. Actually, insurance offered the 2-on-1. So just to put it into perspective. But pica is not Charlie's only life-threatening behaviors. There is also elopement. And you know, we're getting close to summer, and I'm sure you've all seen those really sad stories of children who elope and who are very attracted to water, and then you read the news a day or two later, and they've drowned, and that is so heartbreaking to me, these stories, because I feel like that could happen to me. You know, it hits very close to home. And I think elopement is a big concern for many families. For some reason, a lot of autistic kiddos like Charlie are attracted to bodies of water. And, you know, water is not the only thing that's dangerous when a child elopes. You know, people, cars. Cars is a big one for me. One time Charlie ran away when we were at a restaurant downtown. Like, I'm terrified to do anything out of the house with Charlie. And I feel like the few times we've gone out of our comfort zone, it's just been a failure for his safety. Like that one time where he ran off that restaurant and in a street. And, you know, I was telling people, I was wearing flip-flop. Big mistake. Don't wear flip-flops if your child has a tendency to elope, because it makes it very hard to run. But anyway, Charlie was running away downtown, and I was telling people, okay, please, like, grab him. But I think people have a fear of touching a child that's not theirs, which I understand, you know. But at the same time, if you see a mom running after their child and the child is like running towards a busy intersection, I think you're safe to grab the child. So yeah, all of that to say that there are a lot of very challenging behaviors that can be life-threatening. You know, Charlie has some injurious behaviors too. I wouldn't say it's life-threatening in itself, because he's not doing it to hurt himself. It's just that the steaming and, like, you know, like head banging, like slapping himself, skin picking, you know, it's bad. Like, it's hurting him. A few months ago, recently, he hurt his nose so bad, I thought it was broken. It was all bruised and swollen. Turned out it was not, but still he hurt himself. And finally, I mean, the aggression towards other people is it's pretty sad, you know. We have a family, and Charlie has a brother and a sister, and when he gets upset, he tends to get aggressive. And when he was younger, that would be hair pulling, which, you know, it hurts, but I feel like you see that type of messing around in neurotypical families too. But now the aggression towards others has escalated, and it's stronger. A couple of months ago, I had an interview evaluation for Charlie to see if he qualified, if he was intellectually disabled, to qualify for a waiver to get respite and other services. And during the evaluation, Charlie was hitting me the entire time, like so hard. You know, he's just a little 11-year-old, but when he's really mad and he puts all of his strengths, it's hard. And all I can do is brace myself. And I keep thinking, you know, he's gonna get bigger. He's very sweet right now, 11. He's skinny, but it's still, it hurts, you know. So imagine when children get bigger, how bad that can get. And then there are behaviors like what I was showing in the initial video that are like not dangerous, but, you know, still it's a lot of work and supervision for parents, like property destruction. You know, like I don't even know how many iPads Charlie has broken over the years, how many like glasses and like things that are just like special around the house that breaks. Like we can't have nice things, really. Speeding is another one of his behavior. And when I say speeding, I mean speeding. You can take a look at my page and see the data from his ABA and school. On a bad day, that can be 400 plus time a day where he's like spitting. And that's not dangerous per se, but that's still a very challenging behavior. And, you know, being the parent of a child who requires so much supervision and care is difficult. And I feel like today in 2024, we're not allowed to say that. It's taboo to say that this is a hard life. You know, we're not allowed to feel sad for it. We're not allowed to wish that life was easier for our child. And yeah, for us too. You know, why would we want our children to not know how to keep themselves safe? It doesn't make sense to me that this is taboo, but this is the world we live in. Social media is a big part of my life because I'm the director of social media at Autism Speaks, and I'm also a content creator myself on the Autism Cafe. And I feel like I spent a big part of my life dealing with misconceptions and hate online, and it's pretty frustrating. There was a study from Drexel University that shed light on a concerning fact that only 27% of TikTok videos that show autism do so in an accurate way. And I'm really glad that study is out there, because if you go on TikTok, you're going to see a lot of people show autism in a way that is not accurate. You know, a lot of these people are trying to erase profound autism. They're shaming parents and they're spreading misinformation about so many things. And it's frustrating. As someone diagnosed with autism level 1, I can tell you that my autism is not like Charlie's. I mean, not even close. I feel like it shouldn't even bear the same name. So when you have a population of autistic people on TikTok, some of them diagnosed, some of them who are not, who are trying to speak on behalf of the entire community, it doesn't feel right, because a lot of these people, like I said, are trying to erase profound autism. And profound autism, the people who have profound autism, severe autism, they're the one who need the most support, but they're also the one who can't advocate for themselves. And they need their caregivers, parents, professionals to do that advocacy. But when those people who can advocate for people with severe autism do so, they get attacked on social media. You will hear things like, there is no such thing as severe autism. I get that comment probably daily. And it's spread. People don't believe in severe autism. They say that people with severe autism are just not as good at masking. And to me, that's just like very offensive, and I don't get offended very easily. It's just sad because we need support, we need help, and I feel like media outlets are out there, they're afraid to show that side of autism. You see that it's mostly positive stories, you know, like me, I'm an autism success stories. I'm an autism success story, but to a lot of people in the autism community, like a success story is not necessarily graduating college, being able to get a job. A success story for people with severe autism is getting to tie their shoes, eating independently. It's saying "ba" for bubble. And these stories, you're not gonna see them in those media outlets, because what they care about are those very big success stories from people who have lower support needs, like myself. And I don't think that's fair, because we as parents need more support, more awareness of all the very challenging behaviors and often life-threatening behaviors that can come with autism. And if all we see on social media are, people with autism who see their autism as a gift, it makes it hard to advocate for more services and support, right? Why would we need support and services for something that's a gift? I mean, I struggle with things. I don't see my own autism as a gift, and on paper, I'm pretty successful. So imagine for children like my son, Charlie, how do we get more services? That's a question I'd like to ask these people. If autism is a gift, like, why do we need more help? How do I prevent my son from swallowing screws? How do I prevent him from running in the street? And I think a big part of the problem here is that people are too afraid to speak up on social media. And I get it, because the people who are the most vocal on social media, they are loud and they are mean. Like, the way they go about providing their opinion is not nice, you know? I always say that, like, I don't care if you like the puzzle piece or the infinity loop symbol. I don't care if you like the color blue, the color red. I don't care if you call yourself a person with autism or autistic. What I care about is that you do so in a respectful way, and that you don't try to speak on behalf of the entire community. I can only speak from my perspective as a mom of two children on a spectrum, one with very high support needs. I can only speak as one person with autism myself, but it doesn't mean I speak on behalf of the entire community. Like, I love the puzzle piece, I love the color blue, and it doesn't mean that all autistic people do. And I think it gets very harmful when on the internet you see people trying to speak on behalf of the entire community. Because again, like, just because someone has autism doesn't mean they understand the struggles of my son, Charlie, and those with severe autism. And we need to be careful when we read things on social media to not take them at face value. There is also that echo chamber phenomenon that happens on social media, where, like, people stay in their cycles, and they don't listen to other perspectives. Often they will just repeat what they've heard, without taking into consideration that other people in the community might have different opinions. But yeah, my message to you would be to speak up if you see something that's not just, an opinion. If someone tells you, well, I prefer the color red, don't yell at them. But if someone says severe autism is not real, speak up, say something. I feel like it's really impacting our community right now, the number of people who are too afraid to speak up and correct misinformation on social media. And I would really encourage you to, I don't want to call anyone out, but I know it's a problem when people don't speak up and don't show up, because it just keeps perpetuating those ideas that are false. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok. I'm not one of the 27% who shares misinformation on TikTok. And I'm here for a little bit to answer questions.
Oops. Thanks so much, Eileen, for sharing that and for your commentary and perspectives. Really being out there much more than almost any other autism mom I know, with very honest portrayals of your daily life. I mean, people really look upon you as a hero, and I'm among them. What boggles my mind is that you're dealing with this storm, all day with Charlie, and nevertheless, you find the peace within yourself and you find the time and the cognitive focus to be so incredibly productive. And I think that's like, I know that, when I was dealing with Johnny, I have a 25-year-old with profound autism. Um, and I know it was so hard for me to get any work done, for a very, very long time because of the constant need. You talk about 24/7 constant need. And Johnny, I think Charlie is more severe than Johnny, but Johnny was always destroying things in the house, always throwing things, always threatening to elope naked. Like it was always something. There was never a moment of peace, and it was a constant, constant stress. Nevertheless, look at you, and you get so much done. It's really unbelievable. And I think, the whole community is really grateful to have you speaking up for what is the truth for many, many people. There are a lot of questions. I also have a lot of questions. One thing I didn't mention when I did my very, very quick introduction is we're so grateful that Eileen actually serves on the board of National Council on Severe Autism. We're really grateful to have her perspective and her voice helping us with our mission. Okay, so gosh, so many things. Oh my gosh, we could talk for hours. Somebody wants the name of your podcast. It's an Autism Speaks podcast. Didn't you just change its name, Eileen?
Yeah, so it was we have some episodes with just autistic adults, and that's called Adulting on the Spectrum. And then we have a new series called Just Another Autism Podcast. I chose that title. I love it so much.
Very good. And that's on video too, so people can find it on YouTube and on.
Yep, both.
Yeah, okay. Okay, about pica, and that's something my daughter, who's about to turn 18, she's been in the hospital twice because of pica. So Eileen's experience, I know, is so important. This is really, talk about a life-threatening behavior. That screw could have perforated his bowel, and could have led to a very complex hospitalization, at least. Um, how did you get him to not eat the face mask? My son eats them. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that every time the face mask was on, he had his two therapists with him, and he just didn't get a chance. But paper is his favorite thing. And right now, the pica is better. We're not at him trying to eat something every 90 seconds. But paper is such a highly preferred pica item that he will L up to try to get paper. Like, for instance, in the bus, in a school bus, you will get up and try and peel off all of the stickers that are on the roof of the bus and eat them. And so we're discussing like getting a harness, and because he ups to get paper. And so the only reason like he's not eating his face mask is really because we're like on him like that. But he would totally eat it because that is so appealing to him, so yummy. One thing he loves to eat too is books, and he will like sneak in books in his room at night. Like, I don't even know where he hides them because I check like for items, but he knows. So see, that shows you that like he's smart despite all of that. He will sneak in books in his bedroom, and then in the morning I find like torn up books and pieces. So like, I'm sorry, I don't have any advice because we're still like in the thick of it. But yeah, paper is very appealing for some reason.
Friends on chat, I see so many questions coming in. If you can put those under the Q&A instead of in chat, it would really help me. So thank you so much. Has anything helped with Charlie's pica, for example, mouthing other kind of objects or other kind of maybe behavioral techniques?
Yeah, it was Charlie, we had a DRO, which basically, to make it simple, so that's an ABA thing. But every and the interval increases, but like we started at every 30 seconds. I think Charlie does not put an item in his mouth, he would get a reinforcer, like a little piece of candy. So every 30 seconds, very, very tiny little things, like things like nerds. and we increased the interval at which we would reward him not putting an edible item in his mouth. And I think that's helped a lot. But also with Charlie, something that we've noticed is that he goes through phases, and like at some point, like behaviors will just drop, and then another one will emerge. So I think like as Pika got down, speeding like spiked, which, don't get me wrong, I'd take speeding over Pika like any day. But so now we're dealing with both, but the Pika has lessened. But yeah, the DRO was really effective, I think, and he's still on the DRO, and I think the interval is 90 seconds now. So yeah, much longer than where we started.
Interesting. Someone asks, what medications is Charlie on?
So we've tried a lot. Right now he's on Zoloft, which I think actually helped quite a bit with the pica too, because we think that there was an OCD component. He's not formally diagnosed with OCD, but though he might as well be, because we keep treating him as a patient with OCD, because you can see that in the way he puts those items in his mouth, it's very like, and we did functional analysis to see the function of the behavior, right? To see if it was maybe because he was trying to escape, or if it was like sensory seeking, and it was just an automatic function, meaning that, you know, sensory, like just he does it because he wants to, which is the hardest function to treat in ABA. But yeah, so we've been treating it as OCD, and right now Charlie's on Zoloft, and it's I think it's made a difference. I mean, if you look at the graph in ABA, because, you know, we track that, there was an improvement when we started Zoloft. Before that, he was we tried guanfacine, which made his aggression worse. We had tried Prozac, which worked for a while, and then it did not. But, you know, it's been a lot of trial and errors. And again, like, it's so personal to the child. I always tell parents, like try some things, and, you know, you can always stop if it doesn't work. You just got to find what works for your child.
Absolutely. Okay. This is a good question. You might decline to answer, but a question about your autism diagnosis. What aspects, in terms of cognitive, neurology, behavior, or emotions do you have? Like, why were you diagnosed with autism, albeit level 1?
So, I mean, so many things. And I think, you know, if you go back into my childhood, like I would have been diagnosed in childhood, I believe, if I was in the US. But I just like couldn't make friends. I had like very intense like sensory issues, couldn't stand noise, couldn't stand being like in a grocery store, couldn't make eye contact at all. I was very gifted, diagnosed with hyperlexia, like I could read and write from like 3-4 years old, but I couldn't interact with my peers. And then I grew up, and my struggles didn't get any better. I learned to cope a little better, but it was still really hard. Like I didn't understand why I couldn't go to the grocery store to buy a gallon of milk where everybody was doing it. But to me, it was like so tiring. Like I could take like a week off, and, you know, understanding like social interaction, the noise, like all my friends love going to concert and to the movie theater. Like even a few months ago, I went and saw the Barbie movie, and I almost had to leave. Like I was tearing up at the noise plugging my ears. You know, like even at times when I feel like my autism, like I have some good coping mechanisms, like I get into situations that are outside my comfort zone, and it's over. You know, I've just learned, you know, now I do like food delivery and things like that. Like I avoid things that I can't handle. But yeah, I was diagnosed when I was 25, and it just was was really helpful for me. But even though I'm diagnosed with autism, I also am very careful to remind people that it's just not comparable to Charlie's diagnosis. And, you know, when I was diagnosed, They told me I did been, I think it was a year or two earlier, I would have been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome and not autism level 1. And it's controversial, but I wish that diagnosis was still there to make the distinction between someone like me who struggles with like some of these things and someone like Charlie.
Yeah, certainly NCSA, agrees with that we need more precision in how we diagnose because, lumping together people with such incredibly different behaviors and presentations and clinical needs is not doing anyone any favors. And here's somebody really commending you for, bringing your life into the public. Because how do we navigate for adult services when the system doesn't get it? Yes, it's so important that the system gets it because we see disability and especially autism so romanticized and really so trivialized, even in policy making all the time. And so it's really important that the truth gets out there, and NCSA stands very firmly for that. Do you agree that the system is broken and nothing is being done? I guess we have to be the change. Well, that's a kind of big, broad question, Eileen, about the system. But you have a son who's 11 with very, very, very intense autism. And he is going to get bigger. He is going to get stronger. You will face more peril in your home. Your other children will face more peril. And you are looking at a broken system in terms of his longer term care. What are you thinking? What are you fearing?
Well, and I think it depends on where you live too. Like Texas, we're like bottom of the list. I feel very lucky. I got help from a wonderful autism advocate in Texas, and she taught me so many things about services here. But I was on the list for home community services here in Texas, and the waiting list was over 20 years long. 20 plus years to access like respite and attendance care and all of these things that I so desperately need. My family needs, Charlie needs. And there is a way to get what's called a diversion spot. But for that, you need to be in a crisis situation. You need to prove that your child is at risk for institutionalization. Ooh, I said it right. And Charlie qualified. I got the news a few weeks ago. So we bypassed that 20 plus year waiting list. And I'm so, so grateful. But it took like getting to the point where Charlie would have been in an institution to get those services. Otherwise, it was 20 years. So yeah, I think in some ways the system is broken. And, I'm so, so thankful I'm now going to be receiving those services. But how about the so many other family who are like in a really severe situations, but maybe not as severe as Charlie? You have to be like the most severe to be getting that diversion spot. And I know there are so many other families who could use the support.
Yeah, good to know that there's a loophole there, for these really desperate situations. But I think that you will also find that the longer term care as he gets older will be, a whole new, a whole new challenge, a whole new nightmare. Here's a very good question. Eileen, you're absolutely right about the popular denial of reality of severe autism. Autism Speaks seems positioned to address and correct that, but I don't see it in their email campaigns. What can you and we do about that?
Oh, I think we are definitely at Autism Speaks wanting to like be more out there with, profound autism, severe autism, whatever you want to call it, level 3. I'll throw all the terms out there. And, if those videos I was trying to share were part of a campaign by Autism Speaks actually about challenging behaviors and severe autism and the need for more support, research and funding. We also had another beautiful and heartbreaking profile film done about a mother whose son had severe autism who sadly passed away. So we're definitely out there and trying to do more for profound autism. But I mean, and that's my opinion. But I feel like we can never do enough because I mean we need so much support, and we need to be louder than those who deny that severe autism even exists. That's for sure.
Someone is asking again about the podcast names. Here's one, Adulting on the Spectrum. And the other, Eileen?
Just another autism podcast.
All right. I would love any and all resources you have for teachers, parents, and caregivers that I can share with my students and their families. Thank you. So I'm sure that Natalie is a teacher. She's probably asking about Autism Speaks resources here. I don't know if you want to respond to that.
We have so many. Maybe we can send an email afterwards with some resources to all the people who registered.
Yeah, Eileen, if you send me some bullet points, I can put it in the follow-up email. So
That would be
I'm
awesome.
happy to do that.
Thanks.
Great question here. How do you and your partner continue to maintain your relationship? How do you find time for each other?
I mean, it's hard, it's a difficult life, and it's taboo to say, but it puts so much pressure on like family life because it's hard to make time for yourself. I mean, look, we haven't had a babysitter in ever, actually. I think the only time was when I was speaking at a conference a couple of months ago, and his parents came from Vermont to Austin, Texas to watch the kids, but that's a once in 11 years. So it's really difficult, but after the kids go to bed, we try and watch something on TV. It's hard. We've gone through so many things, and it hasn't been easy. I can tell you that, but we try, and I think it's important to make time for yourself. Find someone you trust with your child, which is so hard. I know it's so much easier said than done, but you're gonna burn out if you don't do it.
Do you get most of your work done during his school day? Because if you don't have a babysitter, right, and he needs this 24/7 attention, what are your hours of actually accomplishing, your blog, your social media, your podcast, your photography, your everything else that you do, your writing? How do
Yeah,
you do it in this squished period of time?
it's a good question, but yeah, when he's he was going to ABA 9 to 5, so he had a 9 to 5 job, Charlie, and now he's going to school a little longer than that, actually, because the bus doesn't get him home until after 6. Jude is at school too, and my husband is with the baby, and but like I said, I mean, to me, like after the kids go to sleep, that's my time. I just wrote a third book. I just submitted the manuscript to my publisher, and I did all of that after the kids go to bed, because like I need to feel like I'm a person beyond being a mom and a caretaker, and what makes me feel good is like writing, and that's one thing that is so good to me. So yeah, that's how I do it, after bedtime and during the day. It's a lot of time when you think about it. I'm lucky that I have that time during the day.
Wow. Okay. I'm inspired. Although after I get my daughter to sleep, I'm kaput. So I wish that I had that discipline and energy. You are amazing, Eileen. Yes, you are. Is there a correlation between Charlie's anxiety and his pica?
So that's something that we thought of, and we thought that that's why Zoloft was such a good choice for him, because it can help with anxiety too. But it's so hard with a child like Charlie, who's like a level 3 autism, ADHD, intellectual disability. Like, how do you even know if he has anxiety truly? Like, it's so difficult to know. Like, it's a lot of like guessing. You know, like right now we're wondering if maybe like his vision is not so good because he keeps doing that thing which we've always thought is a steam where he looks like this. And recently I had to take off my I know this is so random. I had to take off my contacts and put my glasses on because I got LASIK eye surgery last Friday. And I noticed that when I couldn't see, when I didn't have my glasses or contact on, I would do that thing with my eyes too. And now I'm wondering, well, maybe Charlie has also like troubles with his eyes.
Mm.
But again, like it's so hard when you have a nonverbal child who has intellectual disability. It's not like I can just ask him to, oh, a lot of the time people tell me, well, can't you just ask him with his AAC device because he can communicate basic needs? I'm like, yeah, but he can just tell me if he wants a cookie or if he wants to go on the swing. You know, he can tell me if he's in pain and all of that. So a lot of his diagnosis are like, I mean, autism is pretty obvious, but a lot of the diagnoses are not easy to see, diagnose.
People are asking a lot of questions about you, Eileen. Do you get do you suffer burnout? And do you ever take vacations together with your partner?
No vacations, no, never ever, except those 2 days in Vegas for the was a vacation, but I was also doing a speaking engagement. So um no, never. But I'm actually we're going with Charlie, Jude, to a little city in Texas who's autism friendly, the city of Beaumont, Texas. It's near Louisiana. Apparently, they have some autism friendly activities, and we're going this weekend. And we haven't done that in so many years. So that
Did you
should
say Beaumont
Beaumont, yeah, Beaumont,
in French?
yeah.
Beaumont. Oh gosh, I didn't know that about Beaumont, Texas.
I'll report back. I don't know. I
Please,
haven't been there
yeah, I
yet.
have a feeling you'll blog about it and maybe take some photos. Just a
Exactly.
guess. Someone asking about stopping elopement. I know a lot of us, I mean, I was reading some of the chat comments. A lot of us have dealt with that. Any comments about stopping elopement? She
Oh
says,
yeah.
I wish there was a big list of things to try.
Yeah, I mean, two things that have been such a big help for us. First of all, um, ABA has taught Charlie to stop. And the context here is that when we say stop, Charlie is able to stop for, I mean, the idea was 20 seconds, but really in a real life situation, he can only stop for like 5-10 seconds. But it's still really great because it gives me time to like catch up to him now. And we started working on that goal after that really big scare I was telling you about when he eloped downtown and he was so close to that intersection and people wouldn't stop him. But yeah, so we've been teaching him to stop. And how they did it in ABA was having like a little piece of tape on the floor as a marker for him and just like really teaching him to stay there. I know some people are gonna say that that sounds like dog training, but dude, it's like life-saving, you know, like now if he's like starts running away, I can say stop and he will stop. You know, it's gonna get his attention enough that I can catch up to him and it could really like save his life. But another thing,
Hmm.
like when we're in public now, those arm wrist links, you know, where like you basically link to the wrist, and also, I mean, those harness for big kids, and you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And inside the house, we have locks everywhere and alarms when the doors open to make sure it doesn't leave.
Yeah, this has been a big subject at NCSA. We've featured it in our Facebook page, on our blog, many, many times, even on our podcast. I would say, there is a whole laundry list of things people try. I have found the two most important things have been keypad locks for my son. So, you have to press some numbers before you turn the dial. And we have those on locks all over the place. And of course, the fencing outdoors is really, really key. And we have actually double fences almost like a moat. So if he gets through one, maybe he can't get through another. It's a little bit extreme, but the alternative is even worse. But a lot of people, I mean, I would try to look in our archives if you can, and that might be a nice topic to revisit in an upcoming webinar or podcast. Do your kids have sleep challenges, Eileen?
They used to. I mean, Jude slept with us until he was 7, to put it into perspective, and he's gonna be 9 now. It was a very big challenge because of anxiety, and for Charlie, it actually took a little less time, but the problem with Charlie is that he would wake up during the night so often, and wander away. And I can't tell you how we got through it. It's just like one time, like it just got better, but it was like years and years of like really, really difficult nights of sleeps. There are those beds now that insurance covers, those safe beds. I don't know if you've seen those, Jill, and they're
Yeah.
like so great and such great option. I mean, it's not gonna make your kiddo fall asleep, but it's gonna give you peace of mind that they're safe, if you fall asleep before they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh gosh, I won't go into all the crazy things. I will say for my son, now he's on a lot of medication to help him sleep. We went years without sleep in our house, and now I think there's 4 different medications, some of which are over the counter that he takes at night. Trazodone, by the way, is probably the most popular one I hear about from families, but obviously you have to consult with your own physicians. We do not give medical advice. Some really basic questions. How many levels of autism are there? Is there a questionnaire to help us determine the level? Well, that's a very basic question. That's not really Eileen specific, but there are 3 levels under the DSM-5, level 1, level 2, level 3, and it's defined by the level of support needed. Autism Speaks on its website actually has the entire text of the autism spectrum disorder diagnosis under DSM-5. I encourage you to look at that. Does Charlie have any expressive language? Does he use AAC? I think you already really answered that, Eileen.
Yeah, he uses AAC, but just for basic needs, like I want cookie, I want water, I want swing. We're working on other things, and he has a couple, but really mainly just basic needs.
All right, here's a comment from a mom. As the parent of a 32-year-old with profound autism, I've seen firsthand the efforts of parents and grandparents have put into creating programs and organizations, including Autism Speaks. Yet, despite these efforts, it feels like the voices of families like ours have been overshadowed. How, after over 30 years of work and advocacy, can we reclaim our voice? Often it seems that all my work over the years has primarily benefited children in early intervention and those with milder forms of autism.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that, like, believe me, that's my biggest like advocacy. That's what I want. I want to do for people with autism. I want more awareness of profound severe autism. Recently there was a switch from like awareness to acceptance, and that personally like annoyed me because I feel like we still need so much awareness. I mean, you still have people saying severe autism doesn't exist. You still have people who don't know about like things like pica. And I'm not saying that to shame anybody who doesn't know about these things. No, I'm saying that because we need awareness. We do need awareness. Like, we're not gonna get support services, more help, funding, changes, if we don't show that side of the spectrum. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. And how do we change that? I think we need to speak up. I mean, like, it's scary. I get it. I've honestly, you wouldn't believe the bullying I've been through. Like, I could tell you, you wouldn't even believe me, like how bad it is.
Oh, we
But
believe you, Eileen.
you've seen it.
We've seen it, yeah.
It's so bad, but it just like use that as a force to like keep going and keep advocating, because you know, if you have people that angry and you're doing something right. And I think the more people speak up, I mean, like, it's the French in me, but like I want to start a revolution, and I want like everybody to like start speaking about like severe autism, you know? Like, we need to speak up. We need to like put ourselves out there and like show the world the reality of autism. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get like some backlash, and so what? Like, at least there are gonna be so many people who are like neutral and are like not gonna want to say anything, but we're gonna see it, you know? Because that's the thing, like, you're not doing that to change the mind of people who are like bullying you. You're doing it because there are so many people in the middle who don't know who to believe and what to do. So you need to put the right information out there, even though it's scary.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've developed a very thick skin over the course of your advocacy career. But yeah, I mean, at a certain point, it's just I feel people are kind of brain dead. Like they just parrot the same mantras over and over and over again. And when I see that, I just roll my eyes at this point. I don't take it seriously. These are people who are basically cutting and pasting stupid mottos, stupid, slogans from somebody else. And, they're thoughtless. Like, you talked about how offended you are by people commenting, well, Charlie's just masking, because it's so absurd. It's utterly ludicrous. Here you have a guy, a young man, a boy, who is clearly among the most mentally disabled children in our country. And somebody saying, oh, he's just making it up. He's just, I mean, it's an insanity, right? And it kind of like when I encounter this, because I've encountered it quite a bit, just like you, when I talk about my two children with profound autism, you almost have to feel sorry for these people to be so stupid. I don't know. I don't get upset anymore because it's so stupid.
Yeah, I still get upset. Like, that's the one thing, like, I take a death threat against that, like, that's gonna trigger me way more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when they're talking about your kids and really making things up, just complete fictionalization of your children, right? And it's almost like they know better. Well, yeah, yeah, it's unbelievable. Anyway, any virtual support groups for parents that you can recommend, Eileen?
Yes. Facebook, sorry, I'm a social media person. Um, there's one that I run, so you know it's gonna be a safe place. It's called Autism Dash All Across the Spectrum. It's the name of my book, that's why. And then there's another one that we just started with Autism Speaks, called Autism Community Having a Good Time, like the Queen song. I'm not gonna sing it, but
We're having
yeah,
a ball.
that one.
I know that song. Yeah, NCSA does not run support groups. I would um I found that people do best with support groups when they're local to their area or their state, because often these support groups are talking about pragmatic measures and resources in their areas. So I would definitely look up um, organizations in your region. I ran Autism Society San Francisco Bay Area for a long time, and we listed a ton of those. So I hope you do find what you need. We definitely need a lot of support. Um, let's see. Here's a dad who says his daughter lost both of her eyes due to retinal detachment. Wow. And now she's running into walls and tripping. It's been devastating. I could give a full presentation. Eileen, have you considered taking Charlie for a full eye exam?
Yes,
Of
yes, yes.
course.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. We haven't done it since he was like 3 years old. And I'm sure they can check his vision in other ways, because like they try when we do the yearly physical, and they're like, Charlie, what's the letter there? And Charlie just like runs away, because of course he, anyway. Yeah, I've considered it. It's on my list. I was actually talking about it with his ABS therapist to see if we can maybe prepare him for it in some way. But yeah, definitely.
Um, Here's some people asking about advocacy. As we approach the deadline for reauthorizing federal law for autism priorities and care, this mom is talking about the Autism Cares Act, which is a federal law which basically authorizes hundreds of millions of dollars for autism research. How can Autism Speaks and the families of children with severe needs help create a better law? I can address that a little bit, Fran. NCSA, along with Profound Autism Alliance and also led by Autism Science Foundation, has been working directly with lawmakers and the federal committees that are reviewing the Autism Cares Act, which is up for reauthorization. It sunsets in September of this year. And I will say we are doing everything that we can to make sure that the needs of the profound autism community are reflected in this law. Now, remember, this isn't a law that authorizes like services money, which is what we really need. This is much more about research and kind of federal coordination around autism efforts. Nevertheless, it is important, and we have been working at it, and our national grassroots network is going to be deployed to advocate with their congressional representatives on this. So Fran and everybody else on this call, I really recommend that you please sign up for NCSA's National Grassroots Network. It's super easy, only takes a few minutes on our website, ncsautism.org. You will see a tab for the national network. And we'd really appreciate it. We need people in every single congressional district to make a difference. And we're very close to that. And I'm really grateful. And so Denise also asks, are there gatherings with parents and their children with profound autism with law-making reps? Again, this National Grassroots Network is the vehicle for making that happen, for getting connections between lawmakers and those people who are affected by profound autism who really need to make their realities known to their lawmakers. So absolutely 100% we agree with you, and that is happening. Let's see. Somebody, oh, Tom. Hi, Tom McKean. Another good Facebook support group is Mothers of Autistic Children, and Dinos and Nuggets is
Oh, yeah.
also a safe place. Thank you, Tom. A little blow kiss to Tom McKean, another self-advocate among us. Okay, gosh, I think we are just about at the end of our time here. I really, this would have been really fun to do as maybe not a webinar, but as a meeting, but we had far too many people to do as a meeting. Like it would be great to see everybody's faces and have more of a discussion. And maybe, people are so enthusiastic about interfacing with Eileen. Maybe that's something that we can do again in this in a less formal approach. But Eileen, is there anything else that you would like to add before we close?
No, I feel like my biggest message has probably been shared. It's just that really like speak up. It's so important to get more voices of caregivers in a conversation, to share the real challenges of autism and all of those challenging behaviors. I feel like challenging behaviors sometimes doesn't even do it justice as a term when you live it and you see how life-threatening it can get. And it's difficult to be on social media these days and to see all the positive talk about autism. Not that I think autistic people are less than. Obviously, I'm one of them, and my son Jude is similar to me, and he's so gifted. And I can see why some people would feel like autism is a gift in a way, but it's so important that people realize that just because that's their experience with like one person with autism, whether that's them, their son, their cousin, it doesn't mean that it's the experience for everyone on the spectrum. Not only that, but I think about 40% of the autism community has like severe autism and cannot self-advocate,
Mm-hmm.
those who need support the most, they can't self-advocate. So if we try to push parents away from the conversation, those who need support the most are gonna get pushed away. So we really need to speak up as caregivers, parents, whatever you are, even professionals, you know, like get out there. If you've experienced profound autism, severe autism, like just like talk about it more. We need to counter that wave of like autism as this like beautiful, wonderful thing that needs to only be celebrated, you know? And yeah, that's my last word.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'd say for most people affected by autism, it's a devastating disability. Again, I agree with you. It's not to say that they don't have value. I value our kids tremendously as I would any other person. But their disabilities are sometimes extreme and almost beyond belief. I think most people would not, their jaw would drop if they knew of the extent of Charlie's disabilities and his behavioral impairments and his intense need for supervision. It's beyond anything most people can imagine. And it's super important that that this reality is out there. Somebody asked just really quickly, I'm going to just try to get to this. How important is the Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee, which is the federal kind of advisory committee that's authorized under the Autism Cares Act? Is it important? It is an advisory committee. It doesn't actually make any decisions about federal funding, but I would say that the priorities that it addresses does inform federal efforts. So it's pretty, important in that sense. And it's been fairly hijacked by neurodiversity advocates, really almost to the exclusion of the most important issues affecting those with profound autism. And that's something that really, really desperately needs to change if the CARES Act is to be reauthorized. So hey, listen, I just came back from Washington, D.C., so I have my policy hat on today. So sorry that I'm keep going on about policy issues. Okay, so thank you everybody so much. Eileen, if you can just send me the bullet points to put in the follow-up email, I'd much appreciate that. This will be recorded. It will also be on our podcast, Autism Confidential, and on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Eileen, for everything that you do for the autism community. Your tireless, incredibly intelligent, and creative efforts are so appreciated across the country and I'm sure across the world. So thank you, Eileen.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good one, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.